Thank you guys for tuning in today. This is our Let's Be Naturalists event, and we will get started on our Memorial Day week activity, and I will turn this over to Angela for your this week's assignment.
All right. Well, hello everyone, and if you were here last week, I hope you got a chance to do the sound mapping. If you weren't and you want to try mapping the sounds in your own backyard and tuning in that way, I invite you to do so. I want to start with a little quote. Let me pull it up here, and I might have to open this way. This is a quote that I would like you to start with when you head out to go field journaling, picture taking, seeking today, as sort of a thoughtful prompt. So if you could find a place to sit quietly, if your family or others can give you a moment, think about this quote. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. And hitched as in connected. And this was by John Muir, who was a very famous naturalist, preservationist from the 18th century. So what does this mean to you? Can you think about the smallest things, the biggest things? How are things connected? If you were to pick up a leaf, think about what that leaf is connected to. Maybe to the tree. What is the tree connected to? The soil. What is the soil connected to? Think about those radiating pieces of the web that just get wider and wider. And then if you find something really interesting, after you put down a couple of notes about what you were thinking, what it looks like, you might draw a picture, you might think about how it connects to you today. Maybe there's some personal meaning. Then you could research it, you could Google it, find out as much as you can about that one thing that is connected to everything. And I would like to invite you to spend a couple of minutes at least thinking about this before you get started on the field journal activities for this coming session. And I have two field journal activities for you other than that focusing prompt, that observation and thinking prompt. And one is contour line drawing, and the other is a diagrammic drawing. And I'll show you the differences. Share screen. Might have to do it this way again. So a simple line drawing is just that. You start out just trying to get the general shape of something. Something that you're observing, something you see out there, something you took a picture of. And then after you get the simple shape, you can start adding in a little bit more detail and eventually some color as well. And I'm going to show another really basic contour line. Now this is more blind contour drawing, where you're really trying not to look at the paper too much. You're trying to just look at get the feel of the shape of something. And by not looking at the paper, you're freeing yourself up to almost be that little, I try to tell people, be the snail on the end of the leaf. And you're just exploring all of those little nooks and crannies on the end of the leaf, down the duck's back or around the flower's petal. And you're just trying to get a feel for the shape of something. And doing a few contour lines very non-judgmentally, okay? I did this without really looking at the paper so that I could get a better feel for my subject. From there, I want you to try the second challenge, which is diagrammic. Diagrammic means that you're adding some text, you're adding some detail, you may even be doing some measurements along the way. But in your field journal, when you start your diagrammic, I'd like to remind you to put down the date, the location, the weather, and any other little bits of information you think might be important in the future, because especially old older naturalist journals, modern day naturalist journals. They're great forms of citizen science, just like those programs like Seek and iNaturalist. But the more data you can record about location, dates, temperatures, weather, cloud patterns, any of those things, the more valuable what you found and what you drew or recorded is. So let me show a couple of examples of diagrammic. This one has the date, the weather, the location. What I did was I made a box around what I was drawing because I don't want to draw something too small. I want to fill that space. I want to make sure that I'm not sketching so tiny that it's not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to distinguish whether it's alternate leaves or opposite leaves. In this case, I made a note that it's a clasping leaf. I looked at one of the flowers and I drew a circle and I made it 2 times larger than it really is in real life. And I made note of that. I put down some other text, some questions that I wondered about. So is this another invasive or is it a successful orchid? What other thoughts do I have? What am I wondering about as I'm creating the sketch and getting detail? How big does this plant grow? What if I need to look it up later? If I don't know the name of something, did I put down enough detail? All have square stems. Notes about the different flowers, shapes, and colors, even though these are all very similar low-growing plants. By tuning in and sketching them, I can learn more and more about the subtle differences between them and learn to recognize them as individual plants. And I found out that they are all somewhat related, and 2 of them are quite related. And then in this one, I didn't record enough. I should have put some more information about the weather, but it was April 1st. I did get some information about just how small these peepers are. This is a spring peeper, which is actually in the tree frog group, but it's only 3/4 of an inch to a little over an inch big. And comparing that to the size of the pussy willows. So in a diagrammic, I'm trying to get some detail. I'm trying to take some measurements, some dates, and put down enough information that I could look it up if I wanted to. And the whole purpose of these contour drawings and these diagrammic drawings is to be really observant, to challenge your skills at observation. How are things arranged on a stem? What colors are really involved in this bird? How is its beak different from maybe the beak of that other bird? And really learning to kind of think like a naturalist, like a scientist. And you can also be taking pictures as you go. I think that is all I really had to show you. So the prompt, to spend some time just tuning in and tuning out of everything else, thinking about how one thing is connected to something else, What does that mean to you? And see where that takes you. Put a couple notes down maybe, and then get into finding some subjects to take pictures of, to sketch, to do some study about. And next week, I'm hoping that some of you were still able to view this video recording, and I hope that you will have something to share. You don't have to share, but but I was brave enough to share. So hopefully you will be too. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, don't forget to get outside. Don't forget to enjoy the weather and to seek while you go. So, Alexis, I guess that's all I have today.
Let's see. Thank you so much, Angie. And I appreciate everyone who tunes in to watch this video for Let's Be Naturalists. And we hope that you also, if you're new to watching this video or joining Let's Be Naturalists, that you register for the event, that you check out our Facebook or Cumming Nature Center Facebook account, that you post pictures so that we can see what you're coming up with in your field journals, or what you come up with on the Seek app. And we can't wait to see you guys next week. Please feel free to email me at lawrence@pls-net.org if you have any questions or you want to register for the event. And we will look for you next week on Mondays at 3 o'clock. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you again.